Hey, Dr. Jon Finn here. Welcome to the Habit Mechanic podcast. Right now, you can get my new best-selling book, Train Your Brain for the AI Revolution, at tougherminds.co.uk. The digital book, audiobook, and physical book are all available at a special price that you won't find anywhere else.
This is the Tougher Minds podcast. In this episode, Tougher Minds founder and managing director Dr. Jon Finn talks about the 2018 Tour de France. It was won by Team Sky rider Geraint Thomas, and Jon Finn explains how the Welsh cyclist's victory provides performance insights which can be applied to work and everyday life to benefit both individuals and teams.
Yeah, I think Geraint Thomas and the team and Team Sky showed a real team, a real powerful team in what they achieved. It was all about Chris Froome in the lead up to this race, and then Geraint Thomas emerged as a leader and the guy who eventually went on to win. And there are a number of things we know that have to happen for a team or a culture to be successful. The first thing is that everyone has to feel safe. Because if you don't feel safe in a team, you can't come into work and practice really hard every day. And clearly, the Team Sky people do. Clearly, people feel safe in the team. Secondly, it needs to be okay in the team to put your hand up and say, you know what, I'm not excellent in this area, or you know what, I've got a challenge with this area, and do something that we call share vulnerabilities. Or something that another term we hear about is called psychological safety. And Chris Froome could have gone on and persisted for longer than was helpful, and it could have cost the team the victory. Whereas clearly he was
Persisted in trying to win the race himself.
Yes,
yeah.
saying I'm okay, but knowing that he wasn't. And so clearly it's okay to say that in the team. And the third thing you need in a successful culture is a clear purpose, and clearly the team has that. And those three things combined, I think, help to secure the result that they got. It wasn't about appearing strong and having to win the interaction individually. It was about what's best for the team. Let's work together and let's win together. And I think that for people who are not that into cycling and then maybe just watch the Tour de France when it's on once a year, the insight from the people who really are into cycling will be different in the sense of the cycling community really get that this is about a team. This is a team activity. Outwardly, it looks like it's an individual activity. It's not. And the only way that Team Sky can perform so well is if they perform as a team.
Yeah, it's perhaps worth pointing out, actually, just on that specific point, in other sports, and we obviously are considering a sport as an example here, perhaps in football, anybody can score a goal. Maybe, well, the goalkeeper can score a goal, but is perhaps the received wisdom is he should stay in his nets. But in cycling, there's this very deliberate and stated hierarchy where some riders are there to help the leader through, I think it's aerodynamics, by riding in front of him to make his pedalling easier. And others are designated as leaders and hence put forward by their team to be the successful one, to win the race. And that had to change, and that took a lot of collective leadership skills by everyone concerned.
Yeah, and I think the point is that, you know, leadership is not just a title, it's about behaviour. It's more about behaviour than your title, and actually everyone in any team is a leader because what they do impacts on everybody else's behaviour. So clearly, you know, Team Sky have something working really well there. Even for David Brailsford to be able to be so malleable in rearranging the team to be able to still go on to win after what was a huge setback, there's definitely something to be learned from that.
And he would have had the task of saying to people, we want you now to do this, you now to do that. And so there was a resetting of everyone's responsibilities individually, but I suppose the important thing was to connect it back to the overall team objective.
Yes, exactly. So it's about what's the purpose here, guys? What are we here to achieve? And how do we need to rejig individual roles and responsibilities to help us to achieve the goal? And they're ruthless in that area. I was chatting to David Brailsford equivalent of an American team, and this was a few months before the Tour de France, and he was sort of making the point about the resource that Team Sky have at their disposal. And this is a dinner conversation, someone at dinner said, "Oh, it's a bit like the New York Yankees," and the guy said, "Actually, no, because these guys actually win. Actually, they've got the resource, but they win, they perform." So there's something very interesting going on there in terms of being able to create the safety, share the vulnerabilities, but also work towards the goals.
Okay, so I understand then that another of the very specific lessons we can take from the whole progress of Team Sky and Geraint Thomas relates to resilience. So tell us more about that, if you would, please, Jon.
Yeah, so we hear this term a lot. The way I would understand it is that resilience is about recognising that thinking about this thing or doing this thing isn't helpful for me right now. So I need to redirect my attention and my energies onto thinking about something else or doing something else. And we see the physical and the psychological challenges of the Tour de France. And Geraint Thomas was talking about how he was controlling his attention as he was riding, talking very specifically that he never thought about the outcome. It was always about the process and doing all the small things right, thinking about the next climb, the next day, and planning and staying calm and collected. This is about recognising what it's helpful to pay attention to. And when he felt his attention was maybe drifting, he refocused back onto the process. That's what the heart of resilience is. And these guys are clearly very good at it. In a similar example, Bradley Wiggins, just after it, he broke the 1 mile time record. I think that's correct, in a BBC interview. The interviewer was saying, when it gets really difficult, what do you think about? And he's said, well, not how difficult it is and how painful it is. I think about getting over the finish line and how great it's going to feel when I get over the finish line. So this is a deliberate act of refocusing attention. I think we can learn a lot about resilience and attentional control from these guys. We live in a world where people are feeling more overwhelmed than ever before. Our experience of the world is driven by what we pay attention to. It says William James, who's seen as the founding father of psychology. I'd refine that slightly, and I'd say our experience of the world is what we are in the habit of paying attention to. So if we want to be healthy, we want to be happy, we want to be at our best more often, we have to get in the habit of paying attention to things that are helpful for us. Because if you're suffering from a mental health challenge, you're in the habit of paying attention to a lot of unhelpful things. The good news is you can rebuild and rewire that habit. And there's just a little bit of a glimpse from the Tour de France guys about the power of being able to do that.
So I suppose if we were looking to transfer their successful approach to building resilience into a work context, we would perhaps, and we had a challenging project that seemed to stretch out before us rather ominously in an intimidating way, we might focus on the progress we've made each week in a group setting or something like that.
Yes, or maybe, I'd say regularly, so daily. And at the end of every day, you might just write down 3 helpful things that are going well. Could be connected to the project or not. One thing you can improve tomorrow. And that's one of the strategies we use in our business programs. And by doing that, you're building a different thinking habit. If you're feeling overwhelmed by the project, the things you're paying attention to are probably all the things that are not going well. and many of those things will be outside of your control. So in order to build a habit, we have to practice something on a daily basis.
Now, the final lesson we're going to talk about that we can take from Geraint Thomas and Team Sky's Tour de France success in the summer of 2018 was their attention to their sleep. It's a component of health. I'm sure many people would realise that, perhaps not realising how important, but nevertheless, sleep is something Team Sky have almost developed a reputation for focusing on in explicit detail. Tell us more about that, John, if you would.
Yeah, so I think Team Sky, probably GB Cycling, were the first group in the UK to publicly be talking about having purposeful sleep improvement strategies. We know this isn't new, but I think they were sort of ahead of the field in terms of putting this publicly out. We know that the Man City training ground, for example, now they've just built some dormitories where the players can sleep. Even at Leeds United, the manager wants that to be in place. Because when we sleep, there are a few things happening. One is we organise all the things we've been practicing and paying attention to that day. So if you're trying to develop skills, sleep is absolutely essential. And we've seen data from a sports setting where the guys who sleep the most progress the fastest in terms of their skills. Another function of sleep is that it helps to clear out all the nasty chemicals in your brain. That helps you to deal with stress better, so that you're fresh again and ready to go again. Another function of sleep is it improves your ability to deploy self-control and almost boost your willpower levels. And that is helpful on putting the brakes on the unhelpful old habits that you might try to be replacing with more helpful new habits. So it's absolutely essential. We know that our generation gets about 1 hour less sleep per night than our grandparents' generation. So that's the equivalent of 1 night's less sleep per week. So about 4.5 nights per month, and it goes on. Science is very clear. If you don't sleep properly, it kills your brain. It doesn't work properly. And in the era of mental health, or an era where mental health problems seem to be bigger than ever before, there is a relationship, I'm sure, between the quality and volume of sleep people are getting and this emerging. So it's really important. And I think the point to make here is, with all these examples of very famous people, is you don't have to sleep like an Olympic cyclist. And interestingly, Laura Trott, the female multiple gold medal winner, who's on the GB cycling programme, was talking about she used to prioritise getting 10 hours sleep a night before she had a baby.
In fact, she's Laura Kenny now, isn't she?
Laura Kenny, yeah.
With having married the cyclist Jason Kenny. But yeah, sorry, carry on, yeah.
We can't all do that, but what we can do is recognise the amount of sleep we currently get, compare it to the ideal sleep that's going to work well for us, which will be a unique number for you, because you are unique, and then slowly but surely move from our current habit up to our ideal habit. And that might just be trying to get an extra 5 minutes per night, and trying to do that over a week, and then building up to 10 minutes. But just taking these small little steps is how we can change ourselves. If we try to replicate the behaviour of these elite athletes, we'll probably fail very quickly and lose our confidence that we're able to change anything. We can change, but we need to do it in small steps.
Thanks for listening. You can follow us on Twitter @TougherMinds and check out the website tougherminds.co.uk.
Thanks for listening to the Habit Mechanic podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe and tell someone else about one of the ideas or insights that you found most interesting.